Your brain is lying to you right now, and not in some vague poetic sense. It is actively, mechanically, in this very moment, filtering out information that contradicts what you've already decided is true and presenting you with a version of reality carefully curated to confirm whatever belief you walked into today carrying. This isn't a character flaw. It's not weakness. It's a documented neurological function called the reticular activating system, and it operates below your conscious awareness constantly, which means most people spend their entire lives responding to an edited version of reality without ever once realizing the unedited version was available the whole time. Here's how it works at the most basic level, because I want you understanding the mechanics before we get into why this matters so much. Your brain receives approximately 11 million bits of information per second from your environment. Your conscious mind can process roughly 50 of them. So your brain has to make 11 million minus 50 decisions every single second about what gets through and what gets filtered out. And the primary criteria it uses to make those decisions is this: does this information match what I already believe? If yes, it gets through. If no, it gets filtered silently, automatically, without your knowledge or consent. This is why two people can sit in the exact same room, have the exact same conversation, and walk away having experienced two entirely different interactions. One person believes people generally respect them. The other believes they're constantly being dismissed. The first filtered in every moment of genuine engagement and barely registered the moments of distraction. The second filtered in every moment of inattention and barely registered the genuine connection. Same room, same conversation. Two completely different realities, both of which felt completely objective because they were experiencing their filter, not the actual event. So the question that should be sitting uncomfortably in your chest right now is this: what have you already decided is true about yourself, about money, about relationships, about what's possible for someone like you? And what has your filter been quietly editing out of your daily experience for years in order to keep that belief intact? Because here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. Your mind doesn't filter for truth. It filters for consistency. It would rather show you a consistent lie than an inconsistent truth, because consistency feels safe. And safety is what the lower functioning parts of your brain were designed to prioritize above everything else, including accuracy. I want to give you a real example because this concept is easy to nod at and immediately forget. Say somebody genuinely believes they're unlucky, not as a casual complaint, but as a deep, settled conviction they've carried for years. Their filter is now specifically calibrated to catch every bad break, every coincidence that goes wrong, every missed opportunity, and present all of it as confirmation. Meanwhile, the same filter is quietly discarding every moment of good fortune that doesn't fit the narrative, every open door they didn't walk through, every coincidence that went right. Ask them at the end of the year to account for everything that happened, and they'll give you a detailed, internally consistent account of an unlucky life, because that's the version their filter saved. The other version, the one with all the discarded evidence, never made it into storage. Now, before some of you start mentally diagnosing every person in your life with a broken filter while yours remains perfectly calibrated and objective, let me stop you right there because I already know where some of your heads went just now. Everybody has this filter, including you, including me. The difference isn't whether you have one, it's whether you've ever examined what it's currently set to filter for. Because an unexamined filter is just somebody else's programming running on your hardware without your authorization. If you never audited it, there's a real chance it's still running on beliefs somebody handed you 20 years ago that you never once consciously agreed to keep. Here is where this connects to everything we talk about on this channel. Your mind makes it real, not as a metaphor, as a literal operational mechanism. Whatever you've consented to as true, your filter will spend every waking moment collecting evidence to support it and discarding evidence that challenges it, which means your beliefs aren't just opinions you hold, they're instructions your mind is actively executing on, shaping what you perceive, what you remember, and therefore what you keep experiencing as reality. Your mind is your greatest friend or your greatest adversary, and which one it's being right now depends almost entirely on what your filter is currently programmed to look for. So, how do you actually audit a filter you've never been able to see directly? Because that's the obvious next question, and most people never get a satisfying answer to it. Start with your complaints. This sounds almost too simple, but it's one of the most reliable diagnostic tools available to you. What do you find yourself complaining about consistently? The same themes, the same types of people, the same kinds of situations showing up over and over across different years and different contexts. Those recurring complaints are a direct readout of what your filter is calibrated to catch. If you keep finding yourself in situations where people don't take you seriously, your filter is set to find those situations. Not because that's all that exists in your environment, but because that's what your current belief is instructing your brain to prioritize and save. The complaint isn't just expressing frustration, it's showing you the setting. Second, look for what you consistently don't notice. This one's harder because you're trying to identify an absence, but it's worth the effort. Ask people who know you well what opportunities or positive developments they've observed in your life that you seem to completely miss or dismiss. What compliments do you deflect so fast they never actually land? What evidence of your own competence do you minimize the second it arrives? The stuff you consistently don't let in is exactly what your filter is currently throwing out. And knowing that gives you the actual target for recalibration instead of just vague instructions to think more positively, which is the least useful advice ever given to a human being. Third, and this is where the real work lives, you have to deliberately, consciously, on purpose, start feeding your filter different instructions, knowing that the old filter won't just step aside politely because you asked it to. This is what people get wrong about affirmations and positive thinking. They treat it like a one-time event. Say the thing once, feel a little better, wonder why nothing changed. Recalibrating a filter that's been running the same program for 20 years requires the same thing that built it in the first place: repetition, emotional charge, and consistency applied to the new belief you're trying to install until your brain has enough evidence on file for the new pattern to start self-sustaining. And I'm going to say something directly that the softer corners of the spiritual community don't like to say because it makes people uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people leave bad reviews. Some of the shit you've been blaming on bad luck, on the economy, on your upbringing, on other people's behavior has been partially sustained by a filter you never examined. Not all of it. Real obstacles exist. Real systemic disadvantages exist. I'm not standing here telling you that your circumstances are entirely your own fault and the world is perfectly fair, because that would be a lie. But I'm telling you that a significant portion of what feels like external limitation is actually your filter working exactly as instructed, dutifully finding and saving every piece of evidence that confirms the story you decided to believe, and just as dutifully throwing away everything that would complicate it. Both things can be true at once. The world can be genuinely difficult, and your filter can still be making it harder than it needs to be. And some of you are going to walk away from this and say, well, that's just confirmation bias. I already knew about that. Cool. Knowing the name of the thing and actually auditing your own filter for what it's currently confirming are two completely separate actions. And the first one has never once produced the results of the second. You know how I know? Because you're still carrying the same complaints you were carrying 3 years ago. Examine the filter. Change what it's looking for. Your mind will handle the rest.